Hello, I'm Tim Jennings. I'm the owner of Mbantua Gallery here in Alice Springs. Today I'm going to walk you through an exhibition of Barbara Weir's work. And this exhibition is designed to go to the world. We know that it's expensive to fly to Alice Springs, to travel to Alice Springs, especially from people overseas. So this is our intention, is to take it to your homes. Hopefully you will enjoy what we show you today. Although I've known Barbara for over 30 years and we've been very good friends, I've written down quite a few notes, and I'm going to read those today because I want to be concise and I don't want to miss anything. Barbara Florence Weir was born in the outback of the Northern Territory, some 270 kilometres northeast of Alice Springs. Under a tree, actually, on a cattle station that was formerly known as Bundy River Station. She believes that it was around 1940. Health records weren't kept in those days, so we're not sure exactly what dates. Her mother was the late Minnie Pearl and a famous artist in her own right, and her father, the late Jack Weir, of Irish descent, was a stockman on the station. In those days, children of mixed heritage were taken away from the Aboriginal families and placed in welfare. It later became known as the Stolen Generation. Barbara was approximately 9 years of age when she was finally caught by the authorities and taken away. She then spent many years with various foster families and in foster homes. She lost contact with her Aboriginal family, but had a steely determination to one day return. And that she did. In the late 1960s, with 3 children of her own, and after much searching, she found her roots. She went to the Utopia region of the Northern Territory and was finally reacquainted with her once lost family. She no longer could speak the language, but over the ensuing years, apart from having 3 more children of her own, her thirst for family and cultural knowledge was second to none. She relearnt the 2 spoken languages, Unmudja and Ayelwa, and she soaked up everything she could from the old ladies about the Aboriginal culture. Dancing, singing, hunting, creation stories, sacred things, the whole lot, as her main mentor, the late and famous Emily Kamwari, used to say. And it was Emily's interest in art that spiked Barbara's. In the early 1990s, Barbara found that she too had this wonderful artistic flair and talent. Now, some 25 to 30 years later, history tells us that Barbara has developed, self-taught, into one of Australia's most collectible artists. She has since travelled and exhibited all around the globe, examples being in various cities in the United States of America on many occasions, throughout Europe, France, Belgium, Holland, Germany, Great Britain, just to name a few, and closer to home, Japan, Singapore and New Zealand. And of course throughout Australia on too many occasions to count. Her work is also in many, many public and private collections. Now, let's have a look at this first painting. This is a grass seed dreaming of Barbara's, and it represents a small grass in a Noongar country. That's her country in the Utopia region. And this grass is about 15 centimetres high, or 6 inches high. It waves in the breeze, it waves backwards and forwards. And you can see what Barbara's done with the strokes, and she replicates that grass in the wind. Now it's also, she calls it grass seed, So we have to look at the seed side of it, of the title as well. And in the old days, the Aboriginal women would collect the seeds off this grass, and then they would crush it and make a damper out of it. They would mix the flour that was after the crushing and mix it with water and make a damper. Now, also something really interesting about this seed, this grass, this pigweed, is that another creature, a little ant species, also collected the seeds, and they would take the seeds back into their nests, but they would only eat a certain amount, and then they would discard the seed out of the nest onto the ground, and the Aboriginal women would come along and collect those seeds, and of course the ant in this case has made their job a lot easier. So that's a little bit of background about the grass seed dreaming of Barbara's. The creation of my mother's country. Now, this is a creation story. In the dream time, the ancient ancestors created a Noongar country, and that's about 270 kilometres northeast of Alice Springs, where Barbara was born. These paintings are expressions of the land formation, the flora and the fauna, and the Dreamtime stories which tell the people how it all came about. And of course, within the Aboriginal culture, there are many tribal secrets and taboos. So Barbara has painted lots of travel lines, ceremonial places, lots of cultural types of things within this painting. Some concentric circles in here. We've got some just here, which indicate various things within that land, within a Noongar country. And then she splattered it with paint, and that indicates secrecy. And secrecy within Aboriginal society was very important. And I'll elaborate a little bit here, because the dream time really consists of 4 elements, and that's mythology, initiation, ceremony, and sacred sites. You combine all those 4 elements and you have the dream time. Basically the same story as the last painting, but not quite, because Barbara's put footprints in here and handprints, and probably the best description I can give you is I'll just read it to you. Handprints and footprints symbolise the beginning of creation, when all ancestors came together. And only when these prints are present does it distinguish between the story of creation and then the actual beginning of the creation. And it's symbolised by dancing. And that is the significance of the hand and footprints in this particular painting. Now, I will point out a few things in this painting here where these underlying markers, see the concentric circles? And then we have lines here, and we've got different lines. So this is all the cultural story that Barb's put down here about the dream time. And she's got the footprints, and then again we have the secrecy with the dots that's sprayed across the painting or flicked across the painting. So yeah, a very important painting. Again, we have all the underlying drawings, the sketches, and the secrecy splattered across. So we have the dream time and the cultural aspects of Barb's family and at the Noongar, and then splattered with the paints to indicate the secrecy within the Aboriginal community. Now, why we've put this here is we've exhibited this on purpose like this, because this is a big, bold, powerful painting, this is. Whereas we have up here some grass seed dreaming paintings. Again, the same story as I mentioned before, but only she used a nice little fine brush. So the difference, this indicates the the difference in the skills of Barbara's work, so where she can put something very fine and delicate, and she can also paint big, bold, powerful paintings. Once again, a creation of my mother's country, very bold, bright colours. We've got purples, we've got reds, we've got yellows. We have the big circles with the blues and the greys, and that represents older women, and these little circles represent younger women, and the older women are teaching younger women all the stories, and they teach them by song and they teach them by dance, and that's the basic story for this particular painting. Again, I think it's very special. The next one, which I'm going to move on to now, is very similar, but it has a little difference. It's still the same. The big concentric circles are older women. The small circles represent younger women that are learning from the older women. Now, you'll notice that we have some meandering lines that come through this particular painting, and they actually represent flora, the creation of flora, so plant life. So it meanders, I suppose it's the creeping of the growing and the spreading of the flora in Barbara's lands, Anungapa. And here we have three big, powerful paintings, very vibrant. The strong blues here, the strong oranges, and the pinks and the whites, all mixed up together. They're just three great examples of the power of Barbara's paintings, the strength of them, and they're just dominant paintings. And of course, this is about the grass seed dreaming, as we spoke about before, the little pigweed plant that grows about 15 centimetres high, 6 inches high. So three great examples of Barbara's grass seed paintings. I personally think they're just lovely, and we put these on purpose just to show the viewer, give choice to the viewer too. And of course Barbara's given choice to the viewer, and she loves to paint in different colours and vibrant colours, and often in the brown earthy ochre colours as well. But these are great examples of nice bright ones. Here's a more earthy one. It's a smaller one, of course, but Barbara's used those earthy colours, and she's combined the whites and the yellows and some browns to make a really nice, beautiful little, not so little, but medium-sized grass seed dreaming. So again, we have another grass seed dreaming, and this has been in our storeroom for a long time. In fact, I'm not sure whether we've ever shown it before. This was probably painted in around 2003, and you can see the difference. It was earlier to the other ones that we've shown, and you'll see the finer line and it's sort of a longer, thinner line that sort of goes off in the breeze. But it is the same storyline, and I think there's certainly a subtle difference between this and some of the others. But again, it represents the grass seed dreaming of Barbara's. We have another creation of my mother's country, and this is roughly 4 foot by 4 foot, or 120 by 120 centimetres. The same story as I related to you in front of some of the others, but she's used purples and browns in this particular painting, and to great effect. To great effect, I think. Once again, a real top quality painting. We have a couple of smaller ones here, and these are more recent ones. These were actually painted last year in 2018. Painted last year in 2018. And you'll actually see the subtle difference between, if you go back and have a look at some of the others, you'll see the subtle difference over the years as the way Barbara's actually applied the brush. This one here is the same story as the previous one, although she does title it as Dancing Lines. So it is a creation story, but it's also dancing lines, and it's much more softer and much more subtle. Another grass seed story. This one was painted around about 2004. Again, it's been in storage. I'm fairly certain we haven't displayed it before, but a great example again of the pigweed in the breeze. Only she's used nice reds, and she's mixed up a little bit of orange and some white to great effect. This one was painted last year, like those other two smaller ones that I just showed you. So we have the difference, we see how the artist has moved over the years, but the same story. So back in 2004 and in 2018. First glance, we think that it's a grass seed dreaming, but it's not. This one here represents fire that's gone through the underbrush in the Noongar country. If I'm out at a campsite, I have to look into the fire, and this painting makes me do the same. And you can see the colours, how she's blended the oranges and the reds to replicate the fire, and the black lines here all mean that the fire's been through. So out in her country, most of the country, there are lots of trees and shrubs, but a lot of it is grasslands and spinifex and low shrubs, and what we have here is the fire having gone through the underbrush. So that's the meaning of this particular painting. She hasn't put a lot of those old cultural lines in here. It's much more earthy, and even over time, I've got these little small cracks that make it look really, really authentic, like that sun-dried earth out that Australia gets in its outback and its arid lands. So it's I think it's again really effective, a real creation story. So very, very important, very, very important. And she never did. Barb never did a lot of these. So they're very, very limited. And for anybody that does purchase them, they have to go on the frame, because we can't take them off the stretcher bars and roll them and put them in tubes to send anywhere. So these particular ones have to be sent on the frame, which we would structure around it and put lots of bubble wrap and all sorts of things to look after it. So anyway, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 terrific little ochre paintings. Does mesmerise you. Here, this is a much older one. This would go back to about 2003, I would think, around about that time, and that was when Barbara was using small sticks. So she calls this one My Mother's Country, not a creation story so much, although it all melds together. So she calls it My Mother's Country, so we have all those country lines in it. And what she's done, instead of splattering paint over it like some of those big powerful ones that we've looked at, she uses a little stick to make it much more subtle and to give that secrecy effect to the painting. The number tells me this was painted in the early 2000s, probably around about 2001, 2002. And on the back we've made a note that it was actually painted at Utopia, and it was filmed by a Discovery Channel at the time. And it's also an ochre painting, like I've just showed you 6 others, but this is certainly one of my favourites, and I've loved it. We've kept it in storage, and when people come in off the street and they don't know anything about the art, it doesn't mean anything much to them. But when you understand it, it all comes together. So what we have here in Barbara, what Barbara's done here is, again, painted breasts. For dance, dance is so important. Again, painted ladies' breasts, and again, and painted bodies, painted breasts. And all these lines are dancing lines, where they're singing mythological songs about the creation of their land, in particular Nungapa, of course, her mum's lands and her lands. So that's what that's all done. That's what all this painting is about. A wuya, ceremony, dance, song, about all the creation of the world, of the earth, of the creation of Nungapa in that country. So again, it's all done in a binder. It's natural ochre in a binder, and it's put on this canvas, and it has to stay. It has to stay on this frame. So that's the storyline of that particular painting. And here we have another beginning of creation painting. We've only got the two here in this exhibition, and you may recall when I was speaking before on the other one, we have the creation story, and once the handprints and the footprints in the Mbantua Gallery, we have some more grass-seed dreamings, and this one here, these two here are, I think, 130 by 100 centimetres, roughly. So Barbara's used her schools, her colour schools, and we have a lovely green one, and variations of green. And here we have, probably the colours are, she's kept a multitude of colours here, and they're sort of flat colours, they don't jump out at you more, so they're a little bit more subdued than another one that I'm going to show you very shortly. So here she's used the purples, the yellows, the light yellows, the browns, greens, and to make a pretty impressive painting. Now, this speaks for itself, this painting. You have a look at it, you appreciate it. It's, I think from memory, it's 9 foot by 5 foot, which is 270 by 150 centimetres, roughly. It's definitely a boardroom piece, it's a corporate piece, or it's for that big wall, if you've got a big wall in your home and it can fit the budget. This is a sensational piece. 6 foot by 4, 180 by 120, beautiful purple, certainly one of my favourites. I love purple, so Barb's, mixed the whole. Barb's been able to mix whites and purples in a few of the lighter colours, and to make a great balance here with this painting. If you're a purple person, this could be the painting for you. It could well be. It's certainly something that I appreciate. We've got a couple of smaller ones. Again, Barb's used the fine brush here, and the darker mixture of browns, and then we have the lighter ones. So again, two quality paintings. And on this particular wall, we have another, the creation of My Mother's Country. These particular paintings can be mounted on the wall, landscape, or any way at all. So there's no set way to put these on the walls. This is another burning grass. So we have the fire, all the colours, the reds and the oranges and the whites in the background, and then it's painted over with black. So what we have here has the fire's gone through, and then all the underbrush has been burnt. She has a real insight into how to present her work. What we have here is another creation of My Mother's Country out of the Nungapa. The same story as some of those others that I've discussed a little bit earlier. So again, we have the underlying story, and then the splattering of paint to signify that secrecy. The creation of My Mother's Country, different colours. Barbara's put lots of different colours here that all work together. So again, we have the underlying symbols of the culture of the country, the creation of the Nungapa, and we have the splattering in relation to secrecy. These particular paintings can be mounted on the wall, landscape, or any way at all. So there's no set way to put these on the walls. We have another large grass seed painting, big green one. Another quality painting. It's the colours are fantastic. It's really well balanced. But Barbara Weir she has a real insight into how to present her work, and it's a natural flair. It's something special. The majority of people haven't got those talents, but she has. This one's 4 foot by 4 foot, or 120 by 120 centimetres. Another my mother's creation stories, and what Barbara's done here now, she used different colours for the understory, and predominantly green when she splattered it over the top of it to hide a lot of that and to keep a lot of that cultural story secret. And the last two that we're going to show you is another small grass seed dreaming with a fine brush, and we have an ochre, my mother's Dreamtime creation story of my mother's story, and it's ochre. It's natural ochre, like the ones before, and you can actually see a little bit of grass, and so this is the natural earth from around Central Australia, and Barb's splattered it on. You might see some lines, a few lines there, cultural lines, Dreamtime lines underneath it all, and then she splattered all this ochre, this natural ochre mixed with a binder, and Barb's actually, well, I watched her do a lot of these many years ago, and she would throw this ochre over the painting. So something different, something very unique. All of these paintings are for sale. And what we do, apart from the ochre paintings, we take them off the frames, put them in the tubes, and we can send them anywhere in the world.